They're three simple words, and some of the last that more than 1 million people ever saw. Work makes you free. But the work was murder, and this was the biggest factory of death the world had ever seen. Now, nearly 75 years later, a group of North East students were given a task: find humanity in a place where so much was lost. The numbers are overwhelming. The piles of glasses, crutches and mountains of shoes are from just a minority of those killed.
Seeing the children, seeing the tiny little shoes and the clothes, that was really, really upsetting. But it wasn't upsetting as in like, oh, I'm going to cry. It was upsetting as in like, I am so unbelievably angry and so moved by this. I just can't fathom how people could do it.
I didn't enjoy my experience at all, and I don't know if I'd recommend it, but I think people should. I think it's necessary that people acknowledge it. I think acknowledging it and realisation of it are what's important.
But the job was to find the people behind the numbers and see each tiny tragedy like a name on a suitcase which a victim thought they'd need. The Holocaust Educational Trust knew that by showing these students the details, they would long remember the crime.
Nearly 75 years after the events that took place here, this place, Auschwitz-Birkenau, still has the capacity to move people in all kinds of ways. Students get to see firsthand the conditions in which people were imprisoned here, and of course the infamous gas chambers at Birkenau as well. And that's something that really they'll carry with them for the rest of their lives.
And from the small details, they were then shown the full scale. Birkenau was Auschwitz's dedicated death camp. It stretches as far as the eye can see. On these platforms, an instruction of left or right divided mothers and sons, husbands and wives, who would never see each other again.
To realise that there was an entire programme devoted to its destruction and the wiping out of an entire group of people, it takes your breath away, and it's shaken me to the core. It's hard to put into words, I've got to say, because I don't think you see things like this on such a scale.
It's only when you see the railways leading into these death camps, the piles of human hair and the baby shoes and the buildings where up to 10,000 people a day died, that you really realise what mass murder means. And with there being fewer and fewer survivors of the Second World War, it is now more important than ever that these students see for themselves what happened here. The students were read the personal stories and pleas from decades ago.
This is the real reason why I write, that my doomed life may attain some meaning, that my hellish days and hopeless tomorrows may find a purpose in the future. I pass on to you only a small part of what took place in the hell of Auschwitz-Birkenau.
Then, huddled under Birkenau's watchtower, the Rabbi of London asked them to learn from history.
What you need to be asking, how was this humanly possible? Where was man in all of this?
And finally, to pray with him. The students were told they can't change the past, but they can try to remember. And what they do with this darkest of history lessons is now in their hands. Dan Ashby, ITV News, in Auschwitz.